Hello everyone, I'm Debojit Das and this is Courts Today by LiveLaw, where we bring you the top headlines from courts across the country. So let's get started with our first story. The Supreme Court today questioned why the union government suddenly wants the challenge to the Tribunals Reforms Act 2021 referred to a 5-judge bench, especially after the case has already been argued extensively before the current 2-judge bench, led by Chief Justice B.R. Gavai and Justice K. Vinod Chandran. The bench even hinted that this might be a tactic to delay a verdict. The petition filed by the Madras Bar Association challenges several provisions of the Act, particularly the rule that only those above 50 years can be appointed as tribunal members and the practice of picking candidates from waiting lists instead of the original merit list. Senior advocate Arvind Dattar argued that these provisions compromise independence and efficiency, while Attorney General R. Venkatramani defended the law, saying it should be allowed to function for some time before being reconsidered. The court, however, made it clear that it would hear the government's plea on merit before deciding any referral, signaling that a last-minute attempt to shift the matter to a larger bench would not be accepted lightly. Moving on, in a move that's got a lot of people worried about digital privacy, the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, or NCLAT, has given partial relief to WhatsApp and its parent company, Meta. This all goes back to WhatsApp's controversial 2021 privacy policy, which allowed it to share user data, things like contact details, device information, and interactions, with Meta-owned platforms such as Facebook and Instagram for targeted advertising and business purposes. The Competition Commission of India had taken a tough stance on this, calling it an abuse of WhatsApp's dominant position. It imposed a 213 crore rupee fine and even banned the company from sharing user data for advertising for 5 years. But now the NCLAT has lifted that restriction while keeping the fine intact. In short, WhatsApp can continue to share and link user data across Meta's ecosystem to fine-tune its ad business. For users, this means that some of your WhatsApp information could still be used to build targeted ads across Meta's platforms, something most people never explicitly signed up for. It's another reminder that even when an app feels private, the data we share fuels massive advertising networks behind the scenes. At a time when India's data protection law is still taking shape, this ruling feels like a step backward for user control and privacy online. Next, we have updates about a rare case which is being called judicial indiscipline. A group of lawyers from the Madras High Court has written to the President, the Chief Justice of India, and the Law Minister, protesting Justice Nisha Banu's refusal to comply with her transfer order. The Supreme Court Collegium had recommended her transfer to the Kerala High Court on August 27th of 2025, and the centre notified it on October 14th. The lawyers say Justice Banu stopped attending court in Madras after that notification but has not yet joined in Kerala, even though other transferred judges have already assumed office. Earlier, bar associations from the Madurai bench had opposed her transfer, arguing it would lower her seniority from 3rd in Madras to 9th in Kerala, affecting her chances in the collegium. The letter now accuses Justice Banu of arrogance, saying her delay tarnishes the court's image and may be an attempt to retain influence in the Madras High Court Collegium. The lawyers have called for immediate action to formally relieve her. Things don't seem to be looking great outside the courts either, as we saw for nearly a year, ward boys and sweepers at a Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation run hospital were tasked with operating ECG machines, a startling example of systemic failure driven by neglect of infrastructure and resources. The Maharashtra State Human Rights Commission has now pulled up the BMC over this lapse, ordering it to pay 12 lakh rupees in compensation. The hospital itself admitted that the post of ECG technician had remained vacant for a full year. Taking strong exception, the Human Rights Commission chairperson, Justice Anant Badar, criticized the BMC, calling it the country's richest civic body for its absolute failure to uphold citizens' human rights. He observed that allowing untrained staff to conduct ECG tests, which directly affects patient safety and life, amounted to a serious violation of fundamental rights. The Commission has directed the BMC to immediately appoint qualified technicians and deposit the compensation amount with the Maharashtra State Legal Services Authority. Next, the Madras High Court quashed an octogenarian husband's acquittal in a case under Section 498A of the Indian Penal Code, using some very pointed language about marriage and gender norms. It said that marriage does not give a man unquestioned authority over his wife. The judge emphasized that a wife's comfort, safety, and dignity are not secondary concerns. They are core obligations of the marital bond. The court also noted that the tragic reality faced by many older married women. It observed that the woman in this case was emblematic of a generation that silently endured emotional and mental cruelty, thinking endurance was virtue, silence was consent. The court held that such endurance must not be mistaken for consent or acceptance. In short, this judgment sends a strong message that patriarchal assumptions about marital authority are no longer acceptable, and that the law must recognize the dignity and rights of wives, especially in later years of life. And next, in a relieving development for Arnab Goswami, the court has quashed the summons issued to him in a criminal defamation case filed by lawyer Vikram Singh Chauhan. Chauhan alleged that during a 2016 broadcast of Goswami's show, remarks were made against him that damaged his reputation. Goswami had challenged the trial court's February 28, 2018 order that had named him an accused. On November 4, 2025, the Delhi High Court, through Justice Neena Bansal Krishna, set aside the complaint and the summons issued against Goswami and 2 other Times Now officials. In effect, the court said the earlier order to summon Goswami no longer holds. And for our final story, the film Haal, starring Shane Nigam, is being challenged by its producers at the Kerala High Court. They've appealed against the Central Board of Film Certification, granting only an A certificate and demanding multiple cuts, including scenes from an actress in Muslim religious attire and characters eating beef biryani. When the case came up, the court asked pointed questions about definitions. For instance, Justice V.G. Arun asked, what exactly is meant by the expression love jihad? Why is it called jihad when it relates to one particular religion? Meanwhile, the CBFC's objections include potential stereotyping of communities and use of certain dialogues or symbols, like a Rakhi image that it says could be sensitive. That brings this episode of Courts Today to a close. But if you're interested in a detailed coverage of these stories and more, visit livelaw.in and follow us on all our socials to stay updated with everything that is law.